Welcome back to Question Period. Continuing coverage today of our top story. Will they or won't they? The issue of Alberta's separation continues to heat up, with Premier Danielle Smith announcing this week there will be a referendum question in October asking whether Albertans want to stay in Canada or launch another referendum on whether to leave.
A reaction to the separation referendum announcement has been swift. Alicia Philberg joins us from Southwest Calgary tonight. Alicia, there is a lot of dissatisfaction.
Tara, it seems a lot of people have finally found something that they can agree on. Nobody seems happy with the way that Danielle Smith's UCP government is handling the separation issue, including the possibility of a referendum that could lead to another referendum, continuing uncertainty and escalating costs for years. Alberta's premier says there will be a public vote on separation because 700,000 Albertans signed petitions on the issue. But leaders in each movement don't like Danielle Smith's double-edged sword approach.
What just happened in Canada has many people shocked. A big decision announced in Alberta has started a fight that is spreading across the whole country. Leaders, communities, and officials are now clashing over a question that could change Canada's future. But the biggest twist may still be coming. In May 2026, a political dispute in Canada moved to the center of national attention. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith,
we have an incredible future ahead for our country and province. We are turning the tide on the last 10 years of disastrous policy.
The announcement came days after a court ruling halted a citizen-led separatist petition. Within hours, criticism emerged from political leaders, Indigenous organizations, municipal officials, and Canadians across the country. The debate quickly expanded beyond Alberta and became a national discussion about constitutional rights, provincial powers, and Canadian unity. The controversy began after a separatist initiative known as Stay Free Alberta collected more than 300,000 signatures seeking a referendum on Alberta independence.
Just
the petition exceeded the threshold required under provincial
doesn't
rules.
Mean that you,
However,
it goes away.
Justice Shaina Leonard of Alberta's Court of King's Bench ruled that Elections Alberta should not have approved the petition process because of concerns related to consultation with First Nations communities whose treaty rights could be affected by a separation effort. The ruling temporarily stopped the petition from moving forward. Less than 24 hours after that ruling,
with Albertans that will be signing an agreement.
Instead of waiting for the legal appeal process to conclude, she announced a new referendum proposal. Albertans would be asked whether Alberta should remain a province of Canada or whether the provincial government should begin the constitutional process required to hold a binding referendum on separation at a later date. The vote is expected to take place in October 2026. Smith stated that the new question was designed to allow Albertans to express their views while the government challenges the court decision. During her televised address, Smith emphasized that she personally supports Alberta remaining within Canada.
I think people need to. It really isn't possible.
With
the recent court ruling, there's no legal way to hold a binding separation referendum.
She also stated that remaining in Canada is
on the revenue
the position
side that we've
of her
seen
government
decline in our.
Despite that position, she argued that hundreds of thousands of Albertans who signed petitions deserved an opportunity to have their voices heard through a democratic process. The announcement did not calm the political reaction. Critics argued that placing a separation-related question on the ballot creates uncertainty at a sensitive moment for Canada. Several political figures accused Smith of introducing unnecessary constitutional conflict. Liberal member of Parliament
in the last week, we've seen signatures submitted, data leaked, court decisions rendered, and much more than that.
Reasons. Municipal leaders also expressed concern about the implications of reopening debates over national unity. The issue has also produced divisions within Alberta itself. While separatist groups celebrated the opportunity for a province-wide vote, some supporters of independence criticized the wording of the proposed question because it does not directly ask Albertans whether they want to leave Canada. At the same time, Federalists questioned why a separation-related referendum was necessary when public polling continues to show stronger support for remaining within the country. The disagreement has left both sides dissatisfied with aspects of the proposal. Data from recent reporting indicates that support for Alberta independence remains a minority position. According to figures cited by multiple reports, approximately 27% of Albertans support independence, while 67% oppose it. Other reporting has placed support below 1/3 of the provincial population. Those numbers have become a central argument for critics who say a separation debate does not reflect the preference of most Alberta residents. Indigenous concerns have become one of the most significant legal issues surrounding the referendum discussion. First Nations leaders argued in court that any move towards separation could affect treaty rights established long before Alberta became part of modern Canada. Justice Leonard's ruling accepted concerns about consultation obligations, leading to the suspension of the original petition process. Indigenous organizations have maintained that constitutional changes affecting the province cannot be discussed without addressing treaty relationships and legal protections already recognized under Canadian law. The federal government has responded cautiously. Prime Minister Mark
More than
Carney
100 years
has
ago,
repeatedly
Agnes
emphasized Alberta's
MacPhail put a
importance to
stake in the
Canada
ground
while
of Canada's
avoiding direct
democracy.
confrontation with the provincial
She became the
government.
first.
According to recent reports, Carney has continued discussions with Alberta regarding economic
You've been so
development,
busy, I've been watching your schedule. I thought I had a
His
busy
public
one.
message has focused on national unity and cooperation rather than escalating tensions with Edmonton. The Alberta government argues that public frustration has accumulated over several years.
That our country is so much stronger and more prosperous when we respect the rights of provinces and empower them to govern themselves with minimal federal interference.
These grievances have helped fuel support for sovereignty movements within parts of Alberta's political landscape. However, Smith has continued to distinguish her position from outright separatism by saying she does not support
the Prime Minister
Alberta
cuts a deal that buys him peace with.
The referendum debate has also been influenced by developments surrounding Alberta's citizen initiative laws. Previous legislative changes lowered the threshold required to launch constitutional petitions and extended the period available for collecting signatures. Those reforms made it easier for citizen groups to pursue referendum campaigns, including initiatives related to provincial sovereignty. As a result, separatist organizations were able to gather hundreds of thousands of signatures and move the issue into mainstream political discussion. Another controversy emerged earlier this month when reports linked separatist activism to a major voter data breach. Investigators examined the unauthorized release of information connected to millions of Alberta voters. Although the data controversy is separate from the referendum itself, it intensified scrutiny of organizations involved in the sovereignty movement and generated additional political pressure surrounding the independence campaign. As May 2026 comes to a close, preparations are underway for what could become one of the most closely watched provincial votes in recent Canadian history. The proposed referendum will not automatically separate Alberta from Canada. Even if voters support beginning the constitutional process, Canadian law requires negotiations and additional legal steps before any province could pursue independence. Reports continue to note that unilateral separation is not permitted under the framework established by the Supreme Court of Canada. For now, the political dispute remains focused on a single question: whether Alberta should begin the constitutional path toward a future binding referendum. The answer will not be decided until October. Until then, legal appeals, public campaigns, Indigenous rights discussions, and national political debate are expected to remain at the center of Canada's attention. The referendum debate has also drawn attention from constitutional scholars who point to the legal framework established after the 1995 Quebec referendum. In 1998, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that a province cannot unilaterally separate from the country. The court stated that a clear expression of support for secession would require negotiations involving the federal government, provinces, territories, and Indigenous communities. That ruling later formed the basis of the Federal Clarity Act, which outlines conditions under which any future separation process could be considered. As a result, even a successful Alberta referendum would represent only the beginning of a much longer constitutional process, rather than an immediate path to independence. Economic questions have also become a major part of the discussion.